Hey guys, it's Liv, and we're bringing back another week of the SPL, where we're taking on Shroomaver, of course, who ended up taking over for Kyle A. If you guys enjoy and want to see more content like this, of course, leave a like in the video and subscribe for more, as we're going to be uploading a ton more SPL content hopefully in the future, as we're very close to hopefully making playoffs. I know these couple weeks were a bit late. This is going to be going up, for context, after week 8 uploads should have been up, but we're going to get week 7 and 8 up over the next 2 days, and hopefully we can get caught up pretty soon. In terms of this week's matchup though, we do have a couple new Pokemon on the team, as we ended up dropping quite a bit. We dropped Garchomp, Conkeldurr, Tinkaton, and Stantler, and ended up picking up Crocodile, Metagross, and Vivillon. Shout out to Cybertron for dropping Vivillon, of course. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, and when I saw that happen, I was like, hey Hopeless, what are we going to do to make this work? So shout out to Hopeless as well for helping with the free agents. We do end up bringing a couple of our free agents actually to this game, speaking of, and I think it helps a lot with the matchup, especially in the mons like Mamoswine, which were pretty terrifying. First up though, of course, we do have Sitlali, our Alolan Ninetales. Now, Alolan Ninetales is going to be rocking out with a very interesting support set that's going to mainly feature both Misty Terrain and also the Auroraville. Now, the Misty Terrain is really important as it helps a lot with freeing up other Terra spots, so we don't need to be as pressured by the Sporamungus, which could be pretty decent into our team. Really though, outside of that, it's still really helpful to avoid burns, especially because Incineroar probably will rock Wisp this matchup, as it's decent into things like Crocodile and Metagross, and I really just don't want to have to deal with it. If we can clear a lot of the status options, or even just the Dragon type moves that can come from both Hydreigon and also the Duraludon on this game, then we suddenly actually have a lot more free of a matchup, and I feel like Alolan Ninetales overall could be just a very terrifying support mon for us. Up next, of course, we're going to be rocking out with Metagross, aka Wriothesley, our newest member of the team. And this Metagross is actually a very key Pokemon to winning this match, as it's going to be rocking a defensive Terra of Terra Water, which is great to handle Pokemon like Mamoswine especially, but also it's decent into things like Primarina, as we're going to be also giving this thing the Assault Vest, which should help a lot with taking on these special attacks from a lot of the Pokemon in Shroomaver's team. With Heavy Slam, Psychic Fangs, Bullet Punch, and Hammer Arm, there's not really anything on the matchup that actually does give us some issues, and it should overall be a fantastic Pokemon, Terra or no Terra, into pretty much every pick that Shroomaver has actually. Up next, we have Shanyun, our Tornadus Therian here, which is going to be a pretty decent Choice Scarf set. This is mostly to help out with any sort of booster speed Iron Valiant, which, while I don't think it'll be a game breaker for us, I would like Torn T in case it gets to game 3, as this could be a decent matchup fix. Bleak Windstorm is really spammable here, and in case I'm fearing Wide Guard, I do have Hurricane as well, but ultimately I'm probably just going to use this to click Bleak Wind, maybe catch Shroomaver off thinking that I won't outpace, and then just going for this before I get hit with a move like Icy Wind. And honestly, at that point, I just kind of profit, because the flying resistances on this team are not great outside of Terra. Really, Shroomaver is kind of relying on for a flying check mons like Mamoswine that can at least offensively pressure, and otherwise, I guess Stonejourner if it comes to the matchup, but I'm not really too scared of it. Up next, we have Hootao, our Vivillon, who's going to be a pretty decent support Pokemon in this game. I'm mostly bringing Vivillon as a decent option to try and just enable our sleep powders to go off, as well as spamming Hurricane, because like I mentioned with Torn T, the flying resistance options are not that great. I can also just use Pollen Puff to try and buff a lot of our bulkier Pokemon's health, as we have a lot of different picks on this team that are very, very hard to KO, such as Metagross, Volcanion, and Raging Bolt, as those two Pokemon round out our other 2 spots, and Metagross is already going to be rocking the Assault Vest here to try and specifically take a lot of hits from my opponent. This Vivillon is also a fantastic check to a Pokemon like a Mungus, for example, in case I can't get up Misty Terrain, and I have a lot of faith in it in this matchup. I think it will be a fantastic pick for us overall. Just for some longevity though, we do have the Focus Sash for Terra Ghost, and the Terra Ghost will hopefully be nice for Incineroar Fake Out, and I think this Pokemon can honestly cook here. Next, we got Volcanion, of course, which is, as always, going to be very, very strong to my opponent. With Volcanion in particular this week, we're going to be rocking a Terra Fairy moveset that's going to be using the Citrus Berry item to keep up some good longevity, with options like Heat Wave and Steam Eruption to just click very freely into my opponent. With the Terra Fairy, though, we do get a nice option for Terra Blast Fairy, which for Hydreigon specifically is a very, very easy one-shot. And if my opponent hasn't scouted for Terra Blast properly, it's going to be a really quick way to KO my opponent's team, as I'm going to assume Hydreigon will probably not be clicking Terra if it's even coming to this matchup, as I don't really think it's that good outside of maybe something like Terra Electric, since it just isn't really going to have to be pressured by the combination of Raging Bolt Volcanion, as really any other Terra my opponent could throw on Hydreigon in this game would be weak to at least one of the 2. So I'm not really too concerned, since even options, for example, that might try and resist my Fire type and Water type moves, like Dragon, for example, or Terra Water, both end up losing to Raging Bolt here. So I feel very confident Hydreigon will be kind of a bad Terra pick, and I can just catch it with Terra Blast. Finally, of course, we got Raging Bolt, which is going to be a powerhouse into my opponent's team. We're rocking out with Thunderbolt, Draco Meteor, Thunderclap, and Protect with the Booster Energy and Terra Water, which should help a lot with just making sure my opponent really can't break this. Since two of the best Pokemon into my Raging Bull are going to be options like, for example, the Dragons, especially Hydreigon, which I think will most likely be the check to this, or an option like Primarina, which could spam a very strong Fairy move. Between those two, or even picks like Duraludon or Iron Valiant, we're not really going to be too concerned with my opponent's team, as I can just go for Terra Water, be neutral into all of them, and just claim free KOs. My opponent's best coverage into a defensive water type would probably be something like a Moongus just to take the hit, but unfortunately it won't do enough damage back. So unless my opponent's rocking like a Terra Blast Electric, this is just going to be a very difficult piece to KO for them. That's going to be my team for this week though, and with that said, let's get right into the battles. Alright, for game number 1, let's see what we're fighting. My opponent leads off with Incineroar Duraludon. Okay, interesting. More than Vine, honestly. As far as my opponent's lead, Incineroar doesn't really do too much to my lead combination, actually, which is really nice. Let me also just real quick put this into my calcs. I really should put this into my calcs. I should have done this earlier, if we're going to be completely honest, but I forgot. Okay, cool. I have about like 40 seconds. We can actually do that really quickly. Oh, god damn it. I need to set this to Vivian in general. That's probably the thing it's getting hung up on. Oh my goodness, fucking hell. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go for Steam Eruption into the Incineroar, and then I'm just gonna go for Auroraville here, if we're to be honest. I don't really lose, actually, no, I'll go for Protect. If they fake out my thing, I don't really care. That won't really be the biggest deal breaker for me. They're gonna go for fake out into Volcanion. Cool, okay, that's fine. And then yeah, they were trying to kill my Ninetales, which is still more than fine. I don't really care about this actually. Because all this does is it just... Okay, cool. Now I got it loaded up properly. Okay, so we've at the very bare minimum forced my opponent to fake out Volcanion, which is more than okay. And on top of that as well, they got nothing off on Duraludon, which is more than okay. They didn't burn a Terra yet on either Pokemon, which is, honestly, I know I said more than okay a lot, but it really is more than okay. Because there's not really a move that would actually threaten this. Like, they don't really break my team. I mean, I know Duraludon gets coverage, and it has Terra Fire, which I guess helps a little bit with, like, taking a Heat Wave, but, like, or, like, a Icy Wind in theory, I guess, or, like, a Moonblast. But, like, it just opens up Steam Eruption more. Like, there's no world where actually Duraludon is the Terra Pokemon here, right? There's no opportunity. We saw... I didn't even see the Steel move that this thing clicked, in all honesty, but I know I saw a fake out from Incineroar, so it's okay. Flash Cannon. And that is faster. So that is Scarfed, which is really good to note, actually. Choice Scarf. And then it has Flash Cannon. Which is, if anything, knowing this is really good information. We also just KO'd that Incineroar, just flat out one-shotted it. My Volcanion cooking. I mean, to be fair, Incineroar's not really that great in my team outside of Fake Out, so I can kind of get why the sack would happen. My opponent's probably trying to open up Primarina, if I had to guess. That's probably going to go for Terra Electric here, which means that I can probably just proc my Terra on Volcanion to take it. Because really, that's what I would do here. Like, it opens me up to Duraludon more, sure, but I don't really care that much. Also, I think my play next turn is to... I'm trying to think. So I think that I definitely Terra, even despite the Scarf Duraludon. Let me verify how much that does, actually, because in theory, that could maybe do some damage. Okay, so it's 252. We'll calc for, like, 252 Modest. We know a Choice Scarf, which is more than okay. Lash Cannon versus Terra Fairy Volcanion with Auroraville up. That peaks at like 64%, which is actually really fine. Iron Valiant comes in, which again, really not that big of a deal. It's not even... Okay, so this is interesting actually. It's not even booster speed, which is really important to note. Now, if my opponent chooses to, they can just kill my Alolan Ninetales very easily. I'm trying to think, what moves would Iron Valiant get that would actually push this? I don't think it gets much.
I mean, there's nothing actually it could immediately hook. I'm just going to go for the Steam Eruption here. And I'll go for an Icy Wind in the off chance that my opponent actually tries to, like, avoid killing my Ninetales this turn. Maybe scouting for, like, Protect or something. But either way, I mean, I'm not really in a position I need to fear that. Cool. They're going to get the kill with Duraludon. Honestly, fine. This is really not a big concern of mine. Because Ninetales already did its job for, like, the whole game, really. But that's all it needed to do. And then, yeah, this is going to go for Thunderbolt, which is, again, more than okay. It's not going to deal real damage. Yeah, this is nothing. Cool, okay. Yeah, very weak Pokemon. We got a burn here. Not really the biggest deal. I can't imagine that this actually is going to, like, ruin my opponent's planning. Now that could be Terra Electric, which is something to keep in mind, but that won't pressure me. We will go straight into Metagross here, because Metagross actually suddenly wins the game for me, which is really awesome. In fact, it actually so wins me the game that I can proceed to go for Steam Eruption into the Duraludon, and then I could just go for a Bullet Punch into the Iron Valiant here. Because there's not really a reason to click Terra anymore, because we're seeing Flash Cannon come up, and even if my opponent goes for Terra Electric on Iron Valiant, so what? I take the hit more than fine. They would basically need to dual target my Volcanion, actually, for that to even kind of matter. And I'm in a position now, too, where my Terra Water Raging Bolt is actually suddenly my win con here, which is really good to note. Now, Iron Valiant could do a few things. I could go for something like a Quick Guard here, for example, which is, honestly, it's fine. The Duraludon maybe gets off like 20 damage on either Pokemon, so I'm really not concerned with that. It could maybe just go for like Protect here, and then have Duraludon switch out into something like a Primarina. Also, more than fine, I'm getting off free damage on Primarina at that point, which is really fine. We're gonna Bullet Punch. No, we're just gonna kill. Okay, cool. So Iron Valiant dies. That's a kill for Metagross right there. And then Valiant is now gone. That's Wide Guard support gone, which means that Heat Wave is a lot more spammable should I choose to click it. That means that their Quick Guard Pokemon is gone, meaning that Bullet Punch Metagross and also my Thunderclap Raging Bolt are both way more available now. So this actually opened up a ton for me. Steam Eruption is going to proc here into the Duraludon. It's actually 3KO, which is really surprising. I know I don't have a ton of investment this week, but it's still really surprising. This is going to be Mamoswine. Okay, cool. So Mamoswine did come. All right. So this is like the problem Pokemon here for sure. Now, the Mamoswine is Terra Water, which actually means that I should probably be clicking Protect here. And then proceeding to go for... I think I'm just going to go for a... I'm going to go for a Bullet Punch here into the Mamoswine. Because no matter what, this is the Terramon. Like objectively, this is the Terramon, right? But I don't really need to respect it as a Terramon. This is more so to catch it if it isn't clicking Terra. Because if it isn't clicking Terra, I can Bullet Punch it, and they're definitely targeting Volcanion, because Volcanion puts up way more pressure here as just a piece that they really can't kill anymore, because the Duraludon is really useless here. Actually, they might target the Metagross, but even if they do target the Metagross, I'm not really concerned, because frankly, my Metagross just kind of walls. This Duraludon has become a piece that I can just outright ignore, though, which is really huge. It's not really going to deal any damage to any of my backline, and I get really rewarded by not trying to respect it. Cool, they are going to go for Terra. So it's definitely Terra Mamoswine, because they are trying to avoid things like Bullet Punch and Steam Eruption, which is okay, because now they're actually very weak to Raging Bolt, which is fantastic. And they're probably, if I had to guess, they're probably Wakon or something like that, but I'm fine with that. Okay, cool. So Bullet Punch is going to go off. In the options, this is Sash. I guess we broke it, but it's not Sash. Flash Cannon is going to proc into the Metagross. Cool, that's fine. And then this thing is going to go for Earthquake here, which means they're damaging their own Duraludon. Now, this is a big reason for why I wanted to go for Protect here. I didn't think they'd actually click it, though, but it was more like back of my mind, like it does help for, like, if they're going to kill their own Duraludon, for example. Because now my Volcanion is still alive for another turn and just doesn't need to take unnecessary damage, should they have maybe gotten off some decent damage into, like, my Volcanion here. At this point, I honestly just go for the Steam Eruption, and I just go for the Psychic Fangs, because we know that Mamoswine can't kill either Mon. Now, I need to verify if Side Earthquake actually counts as a kill. I don't think that Mamoswine actually gets that kill for the Earthquake, which is really funny, but still something I need to double check. Steam Eruption plus Psychic Fang should honestly kill. I really have no issue with this killing. Or at least, like, yeah, Bullet Punch will kill the next turn, which is huge. Cool, okay, we can give a kill to Metagross, and that's huge. I'm just gonna go for Steam Eruption here. I'm not even gonna actually reveal any other moves. There's not really a reason to. And then we'll go for Bullet Punch. I ideally don't even want to reveal my backline Mon, because it only helps me. Cool. Yeah. We've revealed nothing. All right, cool. So game 1 went very smooth. We didn't reveal Raging Bolt at all, which is huge. Metagross got 2 kills for debut week, which is really huge. We're doing good. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I've like opened a game 1 this confidently. Like I've played decent into matchups like Joe and Clover, but this is the first time I think in a while that I've like really just opened a game 1 and like stuck to plan and known that's how it's gonna go. Metagross popped off. Metagross like really popped off. I think I have to go for this, which is unfortunate because I think I can't justify bringing Vivian to that back line. Knowing that the lead is going to be Duraludon and Incineroar. Okay, well, let me rephrase. With how that game 1 went, I don't actually see there being a world where Duraludon even comes, dare I say. I don't think it's good here. Straight up, don't think it's good here. If they're leading off with Incineroar Duraludon again, right? I actually think that Incineroar also benches. I'm straight up going to assume that Hydreigon leads. I think the lead will specifically actually be like Hydreigon Valiant or Hydreigon Primarina. Maybe like Valiant Duraludon even. I think Incineroar just straight up does not come though, because Incineroar actually does nothing outside of Fake Out here. Which does mean that I could actually just lead off with Ninetales again. I think I'd go with Ninetales, and I'm actually going to go with Torrentee this time. Not that my opponent really gave me a super big reason to. It's mostly because I can just kind of Hurricane the Valiant, which is, I mean, that's a risky-ish play to make. Actually, no, I go for Metagross with that in mind. Yeah, Metagross is actually the lead there. Because I straight up do not think they're leading off with Mamoswine, and I think there's no world that happens. We'll go for Volcanion and Raging Bolt backline. But with this in mind, this is essentially playing around, like, the what-if scenario for, like, Incineroar lead. But, like, also, it's probably not leading. Because I can go for a lot of stuff, honestly. I'm curious what my opponent's going to go for, though. I feel like I've yapped when I probably didn't need to yap. I could have probably just cut because it's fine. It's honestly fine. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, it's been a while since I've like, really felt like I've had a lot to like say in these in-betweens, but there's a lot of options my opponent can go for. And I think that frankly, that game 1 went so out of my opponent's favor that there's not really a world where this is going to be a game 1 where I can actually like confidently predict a lead, because there's a lot of lead options on this team. Okay. So it is Valiant Duraludon. Okay. So then this lead actually works really well into that. Really the only bad lead would have been specifically the Duraludon. Well, sorry. Specifically, Incineroar Mamoswine would have probably been like the worst lead for me, because I would have needed to activate my Mamoswine, my Metagross Terra. But this doesn't really make me have to. I straight up with this, I go for Protect, and I go for Psychic Fangs. I don't even need my priority here in all honesty. And there's not really a scenario where my opponent can actually pressure me properly with this combination of Pokemon without like giving up targeting my Ninetales. So I'm kind of okay with this. I'm actually really okay with this. Like, my opponent can go for close combat technically, sure. They could technically go for like a Dark Pulse here with that Duraludon, sure. Or even Terra Blast Fire. Technically that's an option. But if they're clicking Terra Fire with this, my Volcanion might just win the game. So I'm okay with that. They are going to Terra immediately. Cool. I think it might be the Valiant, if I'm going to be honest. No, it is Duraludon. Okay, so they are proccing Terra Fire here, which is fine, honestly. If they're locking Terra Blast Fire, it's a little bit more spammable into my team, but it's really not game-changing here. And they might honestly be even going for it into Ninetales just to make sure it's, like, gone. So I'm okay with that. No, they are going to go for it into Metagross. That should still be fine. I have AV. I'm going to take that. Okay, yeah. We take, like, half from that, which is pretty decent. And then, yeah, plus Thunderbolt, that'll do nothing. That'll literally do nothing, and I can just kill the Valiant, which is, I'm okay with that. Cool, I could Bullet Punch that very easily next time. Even if they have a Sneak, I'm not concerned with that. I'm fine kind of trading my Metagross if they're going to sneak me, because I'm sure that my Ninetales will take this. And just to be safe, what I am going to do, I'm going to go for a Bullet Punch here, and I'm going to go for Fail. If my opponent does actually just go for any sort of shenaniganry, cool. I'm okay with that if they're going to target my Ninetales, that leaves Metagross alive for literally any other Pokemon on the field. And again, I don't really need my Metagross. It's kind of just okay into the rest of this team. It's really just meant for, like, in this particular situation with how my opponent is playing the matchup, it's kind of just meant for this. And then Volcanion and Raging Bolt both have Terra available to them. My opponent does not have Terra anymore. And the fact that I didn't Terra the Mamoswine actually means that my Terras are always Volcanion or Raging Bolt here. Probably Raging Bolt. It could be Volcanion. The team was built around Terra Volcanion. I don't think I'll click Terra Volcanion though. Which is kind of funny, because when I was building with Hopeless, shout out Hopeless as always, Hopeless literally is the reason I don't suck ass at these games. Hopeless had literally mentioned, like, yeah, you're probably gonna Terra Volcanion most games. And I don't think I'm gonna need to at all in this set, if we're to be honest. Which is, it's honestly kind of funny. Cool, okay, so Ninetales A, and Metagross. It's really funny that this mon is somehow hitting last. But it's, yeah, Iron Valiant, 01, Duraludon, 1-0. Okay, cool. So, it's locked into Terra Blast Fire. I go for Volcanion here. Volcanion, yeah, I just go for Terra Fairy. I go for Terra Fairy and I Steam Eruption the Mamoswine this turn. Actually, no. I Steam Eruption the Volcanion this turn and I go for Protect. I will go for the Terra here because this is the lineup that I'm in. If it was not Mamoswine here and it was anything else, I would not go for Terra right now. But it is the Mamoswine specifically that is dictating my Terra. Which is, honestly, it makes sense. This was kind of in prep, like, the biggest thing. It was really the only thing that was, like, a matchup ender for me. Because Mamoswine into my team is actually really deadly. Like, I mean, okay. I need to clarify here. Because I'm going to get a comment about it. As if I'm somehow not aware that Ice Ground is deadly into a lot of teams. But with how ground weak my team is, especially, this is a deadly option for me. So, and it's... A lot of my ground checks are, like, really die to ice. Like, one shot by ice shard type of ground checks, or they just don't deal damage back. Like, my Torrentee is somehow probably, before Terra, one of my best responses, because I could bulk that out and go for Knot. But, like, I'm not banking on Torrentee this match. Torrentee is really kind of a saving grace for, like, certain lines. Cool. They went for Hydreigon. Hydreigon's the fourth one that actually helps a lot with this. That justifies this Terra specifically way more. Because now I can kind of just go for, like, Steam Eruption into the Mamoswine. And actually, what I think the play is technically... okay, cool. Volcanic got a kill. So, the play technically is to go for Icy Wind this turn, and then go for Steam Eruption into the Mamoswine. Because even if they go for Tailwind, I'm not really concerned with that. And then I Terra Blast the Hydreigon on the following turn. That's the line that I technically am supposed to be going for. So I'll go for that. Now I could preserve Differential here. I could be an asshole and preserve Differential. But I think I would rather not. I'd rather just ensure my win, right? Because I'm... Okay. No, actually, fuck it. I am going to preserve Differential, because I realize there's actually a better play here. Unless the Hydreigon goes to Protect this turn, my play is actually always Icy Wind plus this. Because Hydreigon could Flash Cannon me, and I can actually just avoid that entirely. There's not really a Hydreigon play that can be made here, unless it's Covert Cloak. They can avoid this. It would need to be Covert Cloak or Clear Amulet to avoid this Icy Wind right here. And if it is... Then if for some reason I start missing a ton of moves, then I'm fine. I hit the one important Pokemon with this play, which is, I'm okay with that. We got a crit, doesn't really matter. It was not Covert Cloak or Clear Amulet, so it literally will not matter at all. Icicle Crash, ooh, okay. So, oh god, okay, so it's still actually faster. But it's going for a Volcanion, so it's okay. Yeah, we'll kill. I'm kind of shocked they didn't go for that into Ninetales. I mean, okay, Volcanion's actually a really big threat to them. I'm not 100% shocked, but I'm like 9% shocked. Also, I will say, credit where due, because I feel like this might also come up in the comments. The Mamoswine miss there was like grim, but it was only grim with the Icy Wind miss, because otherwise it never really got to a position where that was actually going to be a threatening thing, since it couldn't flinch me, and it was not getting off that damage. We saw how little Earthquake did. It was not getting off that damage with a neutral Icicle Crash here. So we're kind of fine with that. Yeah, Volcanion's going to get another kill. Cool. Okay, honestly, we'll take that. Shout out Metagross for just opening up the game so confidently, because frankly, if it wasn't for how good of an opener Metagross was, I don't think this would have been as easy as it was. That said though, Metagross is the GOAT. Like genuinely love this pickup, and I'm really glad that I got to look over these transactions with Hopeless. I'm a big fan of making transactions towards the season just to try and shuffle up the mons that I'm playing with. And I think this is one of the first times that we've really like made like a huge improvement on the team doing so, and instead of just doing it for sake of. Also, shout out to Aaron for dropping Vivian, because Vivian's like one of my favorite mons. Unfortunately, we cannot debut it here, but that's okay. We have week 8 still, and we have playoffs. We're currently kicking ass. We're 4-3 right now. If we beat Keeley next week, we're pretty locked for playoffs. We actually will probably have a pretty decent seed going into it too. So stay tuned for that. We're taking on Keeley, as I said, next week. If you guys enjoyed and want to see more, like and subscribe for more. Check out Shroomraver as well as all the other SPL coaches. Their links will all be down in the description below. With that said, I will see you guys for more SPL content next week. Until then, peace out, guys.